Hey, it's Reverend Ellen Davenport. I want to tell you about major changes you'll be seeing very soon in Unity Magazine. You may or may not be a regular reader, but you might be asked questions about it or see something on social media. So I want to take a few minutes to let you know what has happened and why. And it's all good news you can share with your people. Last fall, Unity World Headquarters was given the chance to acquire Spirituality and Health magazine. You're probably familiar with it. It's been around for 25 years. It has about the same number of subscribers as Unity magazine, with similar content. So it made sense for us to buy Spirituality and Health, merge the two magazines, and double our subscriber list, which will bring thousands of new people into contact with Unity and all we have to offer. The deal closed January 1st, and we announced it a couple of weeks later. The news has been on the website ever since, so you can refer people to read it there. The first combined issue will be July-August, hitting mailboxes in early June. I think you're going to love it. I'm so happy with it. It has familiar names, like the columns from Jackie Fernandez and Ogun Holder, both Unity ministers. It still has articles about spiritual principles and practices, and it incorporates more of the health-related content from Spirituality and Health. Health, of course, being the foundation of our movement. We're also bringing over some of their cool columnists, like Rabbi Rami Shapiro and Sarah Bowen, an animal chaplain. We'll have special sections on retreat centers and books and finding your calling. But the first change you'll notice is the name. After a lot of discussion, we decided to call it Spirituality and Health, a Unity publication. That means your May-June issue of Unity magazine is the last under that name. It's a collector's item now. Personally, I feel a little sad about changing the name of Unity magazine, but it's actually had a rocky history. You know, it started as Modern Thought in 1889. It was the first thing the Fillmores did. It helped establish the movement. They renamed it Unity a couple of years later. Then through the years, publishing stopped and started. It's been killed and revived. So we're thrilled to have the chance now to grow the magazine, and there's several good reasons to change the name. Mainly, the words health and spirituality describe exactly what we are teaching. It's what the Fillmores taught, spirituality and health or healing. Calling the magazine Spirituality and Health signals exactly what it's about. The name Unity Magazine doesn't mean anything to people outside Unity. They may think it's religious or it's by, for, and about Unity people, so they don't feel included. Then too, Spirituality and Health magazine is better known than Unity magazine. It's already familiar to the very people we think would love Unity if they knew about it. So we're blending the two together under the full name Spirituality and Health, a Unity publication. I know it can be tough when something old and familiar changes within Unity. Listen, I'm one of the old timers, but I came around on this change. I've met so many people who just don't know what we're talking about when we say Unity Magazine, or for that matter, Silent Unity, which was the topic of last month's postcards video. So this is another way that UWH is trying to clarify who we are and what we offer in order to attract new people, which is how we grow. We'll be introducing Unity to the new people coming over from Spirituality and Health, not so much through the magazine itself, but what's called a customer journey. Once we have a subscriber's name in our database, we can tell them about Daily Word or the booklets. We can guide them to the unity.org website or to Unity social media. You should also know there is a large digital component to this deal, along with the magazine. We've taken over the spiritualityhealth.com website, SNH social media, and its email newsletters. We're keeping those separate for now. Those are new avenues for us to reach the spiritual but not religious audience. The existing Spirituality and Health also brings a robust advertising program, both print and digital, so we expect a return on this investment through the years. Take a look at spiritualityhealth.com when you get a chance. The online articles expand on the magazine and cover an array of spiritual topics. You can borrow good ideas about healing, relationships, mental wellness, and even some practices like moon ceremonies or solstice celebrations. We are planning to incorporate more articles into that website about interfaith beliefs and practices, including unity. This is a huge undertaking, and we've been working on it for months. Please let me know if you have questions. It's a big change, and I want you to have the facts about what's going on. Meanwhile, watch your mailbox in a few weeks for the first edition of Spirituality and Health, a Unity publication. If you're a subscriber to either magazine, you'll be getting a personal letter sometime soon, but there's nothing you need to do. It will switch automatically. If you're not a subscriber, but now you're curious, you can subscribe online or call customer care if you're buying in batches. Churches can buy wholesale, of course, and ministers get a discount on personal orders. We'll be back next month with another edition of Postcards from the Village.
So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
These are our indestructible crowd. What's a little rain? It's water, it's cleansing. Actually, I can kind of see that this rain is here today to help us imagine the shower of divine life flowing through us all the time. So we'll just use those sound effects today to help us with that. So thank you, Spirit, and welcome everyone online. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm Kitty Benson, if I haven't met you yet. I'm the minister here at Unity in Naperville. And here's our fabulous band, High is Good, all in the house. And we're going to mix our service up a little bit from our traditional format this morning because we have a special healing service included. So what I'd like to do, first of all, is just invite you to join me in prayer right this moment. Let's bring our attention to the center of our being. Allow the thoughts of our head to drop down into our heart so we become aware fully in this moment of where we are, present here and now. And in this presence, we feel divine presence with us, and even expressing as us. And from this place of oneness, we open our thoughts and our hearts to all that God is in us in this presence. Our thoughts go to the brightness of life, the brilliance of light, the calm, easygoingness of divine peace, the harmonizing power of love, the infinite qualities of God's good now present in us and as us, creating a sacred space where we might know the truth and be set free. This is the truth of our being 24/7. And now we gratefully let it be. And if you'd like to open your eyes and look at the words up here on the screen, we speak this truth to remind us that there's only God. Together, there's only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. And so it is.
Good morning, everyone. You know what, let's remain seated this evening. I'm being lulled to sleep by the rain. Doesn't that sound so wonderful? Yes. Kevin, will you lead us out in this first song?
Sure, I'd love to. All of you is more than enough for all of me, for every thirst and every deed. You satisfy me with your love, and all I have in you is more than enough. You're my supply, my breath of life, still more awesome than I know. You're my reward, worth living for, still more awesome than I know. And all of you is more than enough is more than enough. You're my supply, my breath of life, still more awesome than I know. You're my reward, worth living for, still more awesome than I know. And all of you is more than enough for all of me, for every thirst and every need. You satisfy me with your love, and all I have in you is more than enough. All I have in you is more than enough, and all I have in you is more than enough.
Buddy. More than enough. I accept my perfection, perfection shaped by Spirit's hand, and I embrace my wholeness, and in my wholeness here I stand. Healing is remembering. Healing is remembering. Healing is just remembering who I am. I accept. I accept my perfection, perfection shaped by Spirit's hand, and I embrace my wholeness, and in my wholeness here I stand. Healing is remembering. Healing is remembering.
Healing is just remembering who I am. Can you say that with me? Healing is just remembering who I am. The reason that we're here this morning is because Myrtle Fillmore almost died. But she wanted to live. And even though she'd been told all of her life that she was weak, that she came from a family line that inherited tuberculosis and other illnesses, she wanted to live. But she didn't know how. And now the doctors had given up on her and gave her only a few months to live. She'd given birth to her sons. She and her husband were living in the Kansas City area. She was trying everything she could possibly try to heal her body. And then she went to a lecture by a gentleman by the name of E.B. Weeks, and she heard him say something that changed her life and that basically started the unity movement. And those words were, "I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. I am a spiritual being. There's only one Father," Jesus said. It's the Father of spirit, and therefore we are spirit. And our divine essence is of spirit, and in spirit there is no sickness. Whew. There's a lot of spirit in this room. So when she learned that metaphysical principle, she began to seek ways to understand it and apply it. And one of the things that she began to question was the metaphysical principle of life. That even though we consider life a physical principle, there would be no life if there were not spiritual life first. So as she began to explore, her thoughts went this way, up on the screen. I was thinking about life. Life is everywhere, in worm and in man. Then why doesn't the life in the worm make a body like man's? Then I thought the worm has not as much sense as man. Intelligence as well as life is needed to make a body. Here's the key to my discovery. Life has to be guided by intelligence in making all forms. The same law works in my own body. Life is simply a form of energy and has to be guided and directed in man's body by his intelligence. How do we communicate intelligence? By thinking and talking, of course. This was the beginning of her discovery of metaphysical principles and following with application of these principles. And that's where we're going to go today. How to use the metaphysical principles to create a sense of well-being in our bodies. Good news, you don't have to. Well-being is already present in your body. No matter how you feel, no matter symptoms or not, well-being is always present in your body because well-being is the essence of God expressing. Well-being is everywhere present because God is omnipresent. And so part of our healing work is to recognize there's only God, there's only life. Imagine in the mind of God, before this world even existed, an idea for a body, a human body. Imagine that. And in this pattern of this perfect body, every cell has its little blueprint and is being told what to do and how to behave. Imagine that. And that ideal pattern in the mind of God is continually being communicated and continually seeking expression of itself. Up here on the screen, I want to show you Kitty's homemade version of how this all works. There in the center is that divine mind, also known as spiritual intelligence, the Christ mind, and the divine pattern for our body. It's always there. It's always present. And in that body, or in that mind of God, in that pattern, it is communicating, it's sending out a signal through the subconscious layer of our mind and meant to reach into the intelligence of the cells to communicate. Brain do this, heart do that, lungs do this. Most of it we don't even have to think about. Constantly communicating itself. And this is the pattern of divine intelligence that organizes the life and the substance and all the functions of everything in our body, constantly working within us. The truth is that even though, clap your hands, feel your hands for a minute. Are they stinging a little bit? Yes. Okay, so even though that feels very physical, your hands and your body are more spiritual energy than they are physical matter. Know that about yourself. You are more source energy than you are flesh, now and always. So as we're starting to let that sink into us, recognize that the process is divine mind speaking through my subconscious into my cells to communicate. This is how I behave to experience well-being. And what's important is the conscious mind and the subconscious mind are in alignment with the divine mind in order for that flow of communication to work. So Myrtle would say it this way: instead of thinking about our apparent condition as in a type of sickness, we must concentrate our attention upon God, that we may become so aware of God's presence and God's perfect pattern of life and God's qualities that we will forget old errors and dissolve the conditions. What was the key? What should we do in order to bring our state into well-being? Concentrate on what? God's perfect pattern of life, God's qualities in us. That's what's intended for us. Now, dis-ease sets in when we enter vibrational discord. What the heck is vibrational discord? How many of you know what it feels like in your body when you're angry at someone? Anyone experience that in your body? Yeah. So it's not just thoughts in your head, you literally feel it in your body, right? That is vibrational discord. It's not harmony because anything that makes you angry is outside of the divine thoughts of God. So we know that we're now working from ego. So when we feel some kind of discord in our being, we recognize that we're not in alignment with that spiritual consciousness of our being. So Myrtle says it this way: disease is lack of harmony in the organism. We consider sickness a sort of house cleaning to get rid of some of the kinks in consciousness which don't measure up to the standard of peace and purity, freedom and plenty for which we've taken a stand. So think of those kinks in our consciousness as anything like stress. Anytime we feel any kind of stress in our body, we're kinking up our consciousness, that direct line to the divine mind within us. So now let's look at the diagram again and recognize there in the center, Spirit's constantly communicating, trying to guide our cells into their natural state of well-being, telling every cell what they're meant to do. But the subconscious layer is getting mucked up. Kinked up is the word that Myrtle used. And that means that it's dropping in its energy. It's thinking thoughts and believing thoughts that are unlike God. And when we do that, we feel it as stress in the body. And it starts to interfere with the communication of the higher energy of God because now we're in a lower energy of human. Does that make sense? So when we feel or recognize some kind of negative thought in our mind that then produces a negative emotion in our beingness, we're being reminded. It's one of the key instructions from Spirit that when we feel a negative emotion, that's our key to tell us we're out of alignment. We're focusing on something not of God. And when we do that long enough, chronically, it begins to move us away from the divine instruction and the pattern, and it starts to behave in abnormal ways instead of as normal ways. But we get so used to it, we don't even notice it. We don't know when we're in tension. We don't know when we're in fear any longer. We've taken it for granted. This is life. We've decided the troubles of our life are just natural and we're stuck with them, so why even bother trying to fix them? But our job here is to stay awake to those moments. When we allow them to overcome us on a chronic basis, to where it just becomes the new normal for us, at some point, we're going to hit a vibrational tipping point. And that's when our energy becomes so low that spirit cannot communicate to our bodies. And it results in negative symptoms in the body. You know, the last few weeks we've been talking about Myrtle's understanding of metaphysical principles, and she taught us about staying in communion with God regularly by focusing on the qualities of God. And she taught us to discipline our minds to make sure that we don't let it get carried away with us and decide for us what we're going to think. We talked about using prayer, affirmations, denials, silence in order for us to stay in communication with the divine mind. So now today we're going to take all of that and figure out how to physically, practically apply it to our being in order to experience health and well-being in the body. When Myrtle began to understand these principles and apply them, she did that for 2 years and she ultimately became well. She no longer had tuberculosis in the body. And everybody noticed, and they wanted to know what she'd done, and she began to teach them about these metaphysical principles and help them through prayer in establishing their own healthy bodies. But over a period of time, she started to realize that was not enough. And I can tell you exactly, having been part of a faith movement before my years in Unity, where people would come into a faith healer, and he would pray for them, and their leg might grow, or their tooth might get filled with gold, and yet, after they left the room, they forgot how that healing happened. They didn't even really know in the first place. They put all their faith in the healer, not realizing how healing works. And within a month or two, I'd see them come back with their cane and ask for their leg to be healed again because they hadn't yet learned how spiritual healing works. Myrtle knew that. And so at some point, she really started emphasizing teaching about how these spiritual principles work. And she felt that it was more important that we develop Christ powers in our consciousness than we do seeking out someone else to heal us, to pray for us. That we each learn how to awaken to the divine truth within us on a regular basis, day in and day out, so that we are unified spirit, mind, and body. One of the things that she said, and this is powerful, and it's something to pay attention to. On the screen, she said, if all the bodily ills of all people in the world were healed instantly, they would soon be sick again, unless they were taught the truth. Until there's a change made in mind and living habits, the same thing which caused the so-called disease will continue to reproduce it. Our prayers are for the purpose of awakening you to an understanding of God as your life, your health, your all-sufficiency in all things. Direct your prayers up into God consciousness, not up into the sky, up into God consciousness to dissolve the old error beliefs and their physical counterpoints. And Jesus was saying the same thing. Go and sin no more, lest a worse thing befall you. Change your point of view, repent, think again, find a new way of understanding these spiritual principles, so that you don't drift back down into worry and anger and depression in life, which brings the body back down. I'd like to say that Myrtle healed and then was healed the rest of her life, but she too experienced other symptoms throughout her life. And she was continually being given an opportunity to hone her understanding of these spiritual principles. And she was dealing with something chronically in her body that she tried everything for in consciousness. She looked at all of her flaws and tried to bring them back up into alignment with God and still wasn't experiencing healing in the body. And finally, she prayed this prayer that said, God, what is it? What am I missing here? And the voice within her said, you've looked at all your flaws. Now look at your virtues. Look at your virtues. Look at your virtues. Whoever's phone is going off right now, this is an opportunity for you to look at your virtues. What was going on for her was something she thought was a virtue, but it was actually creating an illness in her body. Here's what she says. I at last came upon the identical thought that was causing such annoyance in its externalization. I could even see that the effect followed by the cause as surely as the report of thunder follows the flash of lightning. I determined to handle all that came to me before I swallowed it and allowed it to irritate, cut, and weaken my nerves and organs. As I gained real poise and the ability to keep my thoughts and feelings truly free, I was healed and restored to strength and normal functioning. You know what it was? The thought that she was holding that she thought was a virtue? She thought it was a virtue to be able to be upset or hurt by someone or to judge another person, but keep it to herself. Hold it within herself. Turns out she was not as sweet and poised on the inside as she was on the outside. And it was that chronic need to judge others that she said was one of the hardest things for her to release and let go of. But that's what she focused on. And as she recognized that was not a virtue, that was an error thought. And she began to, how does she say it? As I gained real poise and the ability to keep my thoughts and feelings truly free, I was healed and restored to strength and normal functioning. So one of the things I want to encourage you to do is don't wait till you're dehydrated to drink. Don't wait until your body is overcome by symptoms to employ a healing opportunity. It's the opportunity for us to notice regularly when our thoughts are in error, because it's the thoughts that are the cause of the cause and effect syndrome. The thoughts cause beliefs, beliefs cause feelings, feelings cause symptoms. If we could catch it way back at the thought, take a drink of water before you get dehydrated. Catch it at the thought that is not in alignment with spirit and transform the thought first. Then it's a lot easier to avoid sickness. You know how hard it is to deal with an illness in the body once it's full blown, to then try and figure out what your consciousness is holding? Catch it in the moment and transform it in the moment. I mentioned earlier today, there are all kinds of divine qualities within us that we can point our mind to. Discipline the mind to focus on God. Start with the knowing that in this moment, in the allness of God's presence, in the inner presence of God in me, I have life and light. I am love and generosity and kindness. Because God is in me, wisdom is in me, understanding is already in me. Right now, this moment, I have a divine imagination to guide me over and above any situation in my life. I have the power to let go, to release through my power of elimination. We have all kinds of infinite qualities within us that we want to discipline the mind to think upon. Think upon these things, the scripture says. Kim-Char's song says, you've sung it here in this very room. Think upon these things of God. We're talking about applying these powers to our daily life. You know, have you noticed, if anybody that's over the age of 20 or 30, have you noticed a change in the medical system? Have you noticed that they're still focusing on the illness, but have you noticed they have departments for wellness? Have you noticed that? That's a change, would you agree? In the last few decades, that they're trying to get us to shift our attention from being sick to establishing a state of consciousness that allows us to be well. Now, they wouldn't attribute it to consciousness, really, as much as we do. But you know what? In the same way, we can be paying attention daily to our feelings and let that consciousness in us alert us when we're feeling tired and listless as the first signal. Something's coming up here. What do I need to look at in me? Don't wait till it's a full-blown illness and you're in the hospital. The strongest signal that you send out to divine law that basically says, bring it back to me, whatever I'm sending out. The strongest way that we signal the universe to repeat in our life is through our feelings. So when you are feeling emotionally irritated, not full-blown rage, but just irritated, that's a signal for us that we're making way for something else we don't want to show up in our life. and we want to stop it and nip it in the bud. It's those chronic negative emotions felt over and over and over again that end up out-picturing. And until we deal with the thought and the feeling and the belief behind those irritations, we're going to have a hard time actually healing the body. Something that Esther Hicks said that I think is one of the most powerful things I've heard about healing, up here on the screen. There are not enough actions in the world to compensate for vibrational resistance. There are not enough experts in the medical field. There's not enough medicine, there's not enough treatments, there's not enough change in diets to compensate for vibrational resistance. Error thinking, beliefs that my boss has the power to make my life miserable, belief that that person over there doesn't love me and therefore I'm not worthy, the belief that I can never get there because I'm not enough right here. Any type of less than thought, error thought that we've established in us is what creates the vibrational discord in us. And no matter what we do on the outer, until we recognize what's going on inside of us and change it in consciousness, it will just return again. The sickness, the illness, the problem will just return again. Our vibration has to get back up into the spiritual alignment in order for the body to receive the instruction from the divine mind. And we can't get there even if we have medicine or treatment if we're still holding anger and upset, fear and guiltiness in our being. Does this make sense? We have to lift our eyes up to the hills, as the scripture says. Lift our eyes up into consciousness where our help comes from when we're feeling those heavy thoughts. The good news is you have free will. And even when you find that your thoughts and your feelings have been tuned to a lower frequency and you're hearing all those country songs about how you lost your girl and your truck and your dog, change the channel to whatever the voice of spirit sounds like to you. I won't try and sing that for you. Healing is remembering, sing it. Healing is remembering. Healing is just remembering who I am. There is your channel. We want to align with spirit. We want to create a foundation where everything going on in us is in the same channel and communication is happening. So this is how Myrtle approached it, up here on the screen. It flashed upon me that I might talk to the life in every part of my body and have it do just what I wanted. I went to all the life centers in my body and spoke words of truth to them, words of strength and power. I began to teach my body and got marvelous results. I told the life in my liver that it was not torpid or inert. That's a denial. You're not torpid and inert, but full of vigor and energy. That's an affirmation. I told the life in my stomach that it was not weak or inefficient, but energetic, strong, and intelligent. I told my limbs that they were active and strong. I told my eyes that they expressed the sight of spirit. I told my heart that the pure love of Jesus Christ flowed in and out through its beatings. I asked my body for forgiveness for condemning it and calling it weak. I did not let any worried or anxious thoughts into my mind, and I stopped speaking gossipy, frivolous, petulant, angry words. I did not become discouraged at the life centers being slow to wake up, but kept right on declaring the words of truth until the organs responded. 2 years she did this before she felt like she had experienced her healing. So know we can use our words and our thoughts for good. Tune into the higher frequency. Have a chat with your body and tell it what is real about it, as spirit is real. Your emotions are on a spectrum, and there is probably a tipping point in there where now you're working from spiritual emotions. Spiritual emotions might be love, joy, enthusiasm, gratitude, allowing. Gratitude is a really good one. If you can find something to be grateful for as often as you think about it, it brings your energy up into spirit. It's an opportunity for us to align our intelligence so that our bodies are getting the communication it needs. So Myrtle said, be sure to get in a constructive attitude of mind before you go to sleep at night by recalling the blessings of the day and the blessings of your life and thinking of the goodness of God. And then all during the night, the little helpers in the body temple will rebuild, for you will have given them true thought substance for this purpose. I didn't bring Charles into this series, but he needs to be heard here. Here's a mental treatment that's guaranteed to cure every ill. Sit for half an hour every night and mentally forgive everyone against whom you have any ill will or antipathy. So let me share a story from Joseph Murphy. He was a healer. He was a teacher of metaphysical principles. He used to be on the radio. And he tells a story about a woman who suffered from epilepsy. And this woman had experienced seizures regularly. She didn't really know what the cause was. Her doctor couldn't really address it except to give her phenobarbital to take every day. And she heard Dr. Murphy speaking on the radio one day about psychosomatic research regarding epilepsy. And one thing that they had discovered was that suppressed emotions, intense hatred and hostility toward parents could be considered causative factors for epilepsy. This woman believed that was true in her case. And she's not a doctor, and Joseph Murphy's not a doctor, and I don't know if the research was conducted among doctors, so I'll just let you take that information for what it's worth. But here's what happened to her. She began to pray systematically, pouring out love and goodwill toward her parents. She said, till I could meet them in my mind and be at peace. Every night and morning for about 6 months, I repeated slowly, God is healing me now. One morning, I knew I was healed as a tremendous feeling of joy welled up within me. There's one of those spiritual emotions that tells us we're aligned. I went to my doctor who conducted the usual brain tests. All were negative. That was almost 4 years ago, and I haven't had an epileptic attack since. In her mind, this suppressed negative electricity needed a negative outlet that expressed as epilepsy in her body. And she feels that this establishment of this 5-word formula, God is healing me now, she felt that it was sinking into her soul. As she was sending love to her parents, she could feel it sinking into her energy, recognizing that love truly is the great healer. Why is it a healer? Because it's the highest frequency that we understand, like God, and when we can be in a loving energy, our body is radiating at the highest frequency possible, like God, and our cells are now getting a full-blown communication from the divine intelligence and the blueprint established within us. Our body needs to feel loved. It needs to hear the truth about itself. Stop standing in front of the mirror every morning going, ugh. And look in those eyes until you can see the light of spirit and then there say, thank you. I'm so grateful that the light of God is shining brightly in me. In every cell of my body, I see your light and I'm grateful for you. Tell it the truth. As we do that regularly, we break that error pattern of belief about what we cannot be or are not expressing, and we allow that alignment to restore. Before you go to sleep every night, go through your body, identify every part that you can, and send it love and gratitude. And as you sink into your sleep, just know that you have lifted your body to be at its highest and best as you sleep, so that communication can happen. Myrtle's ministry went on for 40 years. And in this ministry, healing was dominant in her work. Prayer was dominant in her work. And at some point in 1931, she was born in 1845. In 1931, she came to an understanding for herself that she was ready for a change. And she began to walk the halls of unity and stop in front of those close to her and share with them, you know what, I think it's time for me to make a change and move on. Oh, where are you moving, Myrtle? She wasn't planning on moving out of unity. She was planning on moving out of the body. She was ready to return to spirit. And every single person that she said that to said back to her, no, don't go, we need you. But she could not be changed. And at one point, probably in early October, she had said her final goodbyes, and she walked out of Unity Village and back into her home, and a few days later, she was gone. Her husband, Charles, published this information Tuesday night, October 6th, 1931. Mrs. Fillmore passed into a new phase of expression. She decided several weeks ago that she wished to make this change, and it was this idea in her mind that she peacefully passed out of the body. Frequently, to those nearest and dearest, Mrs. Fillmore spoke of feeling that she was ready to make the change. It was difficult for us to share her opinion, especially since she was in very good health, radiantly happy, filled with life, energy, and vitality, but nothing that we could say influenced her decision. One of the things that she said regularly as she was making her goodbyes was, I believe it would be easier for me to do the work that is ahead of me from the invisible plane. She wasn't quitting. She wasn't retiring in spirit. She was ramping up in spirit and leaving the body behind, feeling like she could do more work from the other side. So I'm trusting you here today, Myrtle. Thank you for your support. What she did leave behind were spiritual teachings that are going on today, since the beginnings of Unity in 1890 until today. We teach her message and other new thought, metaphysical principles that we've learned from those who were attracted to Myrtle and to Charles. There are many books that Unity is responsible for publishing that help us understand these metaphysical principles. Unity has continued to promote spiritual retreats for people to come and understand better who they are as spirit. And they've created a school to train Unity ministers so that they can go out into the field and share these teachings as well. At this point, there are probably 600 Unity churches in the United States and another 300 around the world. That was a legacy of Myrtle's. And also, Silent Unity, the prayer ministry that she began in 1890, continues today. They've been praying for millions of people a year in their prayer offices and from their homes now. They've even got remote praying going on for Silent Unity. They've been doing that 24/7 since 1890. That's 135 years practically. Healing prayer was the foundation of Unity. And the Unity prayer ministry that goes on today are a group of loving hearts who knows it's their job, and chaplains, I'm speaking to you, you know it's your job to hold the truth in consciousness for those that they pray for, to know the truth about the people that they're praying for. It's considered an aggregation of thought force, of these minds coming together, holding in a single consciousness the omnipresence, wholeness, fullness, natural well-being of God here and everywhere present, centering in their heart and their soul and their mind on that one omnipresence of God. And that it's generating energy and truth in every direction from where that consciousness resides. Now, the good news is the consciousness of God itself resides everywhere. All we have to do is turn within to connect to it. But Myrtle said, as they were coming together in their prayer ministry, she said, it's no longer a theory that God is life and substance. His presence has become to us a mental visibility, and we know and feel the power of the divine word as plainly as one having hold of the wires of a great battery. That's what it felt like to them as they were praying for others at Silent Unity. So, I'm going to propose that we do the same today. I'm going to propose that this room become an office of Silent Unity, and that together we pray and hold consciousness for those who want it. I'm going to invite you to hold in your minds with me that those who are seeking prayer and healing in the body, that we see them as they are in spirit, that we know them as beings of light, that are living right now in the spiritual dimension, even though their body is here. And that spiritual being cannot be sick. So we're looking at that today as we heal, as we send healing prayers to them. I'm going to invite those of you who would like us to pray for you. All you have to do is sit, but I'd like you to center yourself up here in this second row. There's blue tape on the chairs. So if you'd like us to pray for you with this healing idea, if you've got someone at home that couldn't be here today that you'd like to sit in for, come up here and sit in this second row here. And if you overflow, then here's more chairs all around us. We just kind of want to aggregate our thought force in one place. The band is going to come up and play and sing to us as we do that. The rest of you can start singing this song with us. And just everyone in the room, begin to open your heart and see Spirit all around us. See the divine light all around us. Recognize this divine power all around us.
We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy. Spirit divine, come to me. Feeling love, healing me, and open my heart. Allow me to see the beauty and love lives in me.
You are holy,
Spirit divine,
you are holy,
come to me.
you are holy,
Feeling love, healing me,
you are holy,
and open my heart.
you are holy,
Allow me to see
you are holy,
beauty and love lives in me. I am holy, holy, holy. I am holy, holy, holy. I am holy, holy, holy. I am holy. I am holy, holy, holy. I am holy, holy, holy. I am holy, holy,
So, for those of you watching online, if you would like to be included in this prayer today, just commit to that. Set an intention. Write it in the chat. Include me in prayer. If you're watching this next Wednesday, Spirit already knows you're going to be there on Wednesday. You're already included in this, but just trust that. For those of you in the room that are not up here in front, this is your chance to allow the fullness of the light that you are to touch the fullness of the light of those present in these chairs, to help lift that thought to its highest point of view, to see only life, only health and well-being. That is your work. Let's take a deep breath. And another deep breath of light. And in this moment, we call on that presence of divine light, whose nature is purity, vibrancy, vitality. That light is now filling every cell in the body that sits here before us. We see it in our bodies. We recognize that presence of light shining brightly, shining a light on the path that every cell must take to establish itself in well-being. See your cells saying, I can see it. I can see the way to wholeness. It feels so good. It feels like relief. As I sit here knowing that this light is shining on my path to health and well-being, my cells are saying, I joyfully, gratefully follow this path, knowing the truth that sets me free. I know my path is a path of peace. And in this moment, I tune my thoughts to all that is peace. A garden with beautiful flowers, the musical sound of water flowing nearby. I feel that sound, that tinkling, that thrill, now coming into the energy of my body and bringing harmony and song into every one of my cells. I know that presence as I know the reality of who I am. In this presence of light and peace, I relax and let go of anything that has been binding me. All guilt is released. All hurt and resentment, I choose to release in this moment. This is my opportunity to know the truth of my being. There is no power working against me, for there is only one power, God the Good, present in this moment. This power wants my good. This power is love. This power harmonizes everything in my being and in my life. Nothing and no one can stand between me and that good. That good is life. That good is vitality. That good is strength and power, and it is mine. It is the very nature of my being, for I am God expressing. I am the light and wholeness of God. Nothing and no one keeps me from knowing that now. Light is here. Light is here. I stand in the light. I stand as the light. Light is flowing freely through every cell of my body, and it is only health and well-being that it expresses as. No illness can control this body, for the power that works in me is life and goodness. I put my mind on what is true and real of God. Kindness and love is real. Ultimate provision ultimate substance to fill my every need. There is nothing to fear in me. I fear nothing. There is nothing to fear in me. For God is continually providing for my good. Whatever I need is provided. I can relax and breathe, take a breath. What a relaxing feeling to know that God is my only source, continually providing. My body is alive with that joy, that thrill of knowing that all that I need is present in me. Light is here. Light loves me. Life is here, and life loves me. And for each being sitting in these special sacred chairs that we have identified, for those online seeking their connection to this divine life, we see you. We know who you are. You are God expressing as light. You are all that God is: fullness, well-being, health, joy. Nothing stands in your way. Nothing stands in your way. So open your hearts, dear one, to that truth. Open your hearts right now and say, yes, I gratefully receive this presence of life. I gratefully allow only which is God to move through me. I see only God moving through me. Know that for yourself. Hold that idea. I see only God moving through me. And God is only life and health and well-being. There is no room for sickness, for it is not of God. And so in this moment, I feel the energy of my body rising up into alignment with spirit, and there is only good here. I am the goodness and light of God, and that is how I express. I remind myself of this truth, not only in this moment, but in the next hour, and in the next day, and in the next week, and in the next year, and every single moment of life. I remind myself so that I am life expressing. Take a breath of that life. Feel it flowing through you from head to toe. Feel a sense of gratitude. Thank you. Thank you, life. Thank you, love. Thank you, body. I love you. I let go of anything unlike God and know there is only God here. I am that expression of life. Always. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And so it is. I can't help but laugh. I can't help but laugh. There's so much joy in me right now that it just feels good to be in this presence. It makes me just kind of want to stand here and not move for the next hour or week. But I won't keep you that long. You are beautiful light holders. Thank you for bringing that light into this room, into these beings, and allowing it to shine through your being as well. Whew. Okay, let's see if I can go up the stairs. Oh, my goodness. So we're going to skip the offering today. It's just not the time for it. But I will ask the band to come back up, and let's sing this song together. It's a new song, and I hope it becomes an earworm for you, if you know what I mean by that. That just continues playing for you as you leave here today. So let's start with that.
Joy fills every cell in my body. Every cell is alive with love. I relax into the healing process. I allow Spirit to do what it does. Peace fills every cell in my body. Every cell is alive with love. I relax into the healing process. I allow Spirit to do what it does. Life fills every cell in my body. Every cell is alive with love. I relax into the healing process. I allow Spirit to do what it does. God fills every cell in my body. Every cell is alive with love. I relax into the healing process. I allow Spirit to do what it does.
Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Jill Maddox, and I'm one of the new board members and also serving as your new board secretary. And I have to be honest, public speaking is not my thing. Like, it's down there with turnips and centipedes. Not my thing. But since we've been coming, But since we've been coming here, and more so since the last few weeks, and especially today, I've really been allowing this concept of metaphysics to sink in and realizing that a comfort zone is not a reality, it's just a construct that we create in our minds. And as part of my own personal spiritual growth, I'm working towards recognizing what is a thought versus what is reality. So that's why I'm up here today, to more fully embrace the truth of what is and break down these barriers that keep me from becoming who I truly am. So, thanks. So I just want to start by sharing a short story that I recently came across. In the mid-1800s, George and Mary Mueller had a nudge to open their home in Bristol, England, to kids that didn't have any parents. They found themselves shortly after that to parents of 30 children. So you can imagine they quickly ran out of space, ran out of food and resources to care for these 30 children. So they decided to build a bigger building, believing strongly in the faithfulness of God that all that they needed would be provided for them. They continued to pray and act in faith that everything they would need would be given to them. And things started happening around them. The architect that constructed the building, he offered to do it for free. And other various means were provided for them. So everything just kept rolling as they needed it. So one day, the kids were all sitting down to eat breakfast. And even though they didn't have enough food to eat, they just began to thank God, knowing that everything they needed would be provided. Shortly after that, there's a knock at the door. It was the town baker. He was worried about the kids not having enough food to eat and decided to bring all the bread that he had made the day before over to them. Well, surely they needed something to wash down all that bread. So shortly after that, the milkman shows up with a cart of milk saying that his cart broke down and he offered to bring it to them, otherwise it was going to spoil. So all of this, I say all this to show that the needs of these people were met by the olive generosity of others. So I just tell that beautiful story just to remind myself, and as well as all of us, of the abundance that's available to each and every one of us. That no matter what we currently have or what we currently give, everything we need will be provided. I myself, I am not a stranger to worrying about finances, but I do find myself worrying less and less with each week that we've been coming here. So on that note, as you may have heard over the last few weeks, we are in the season of intentional giving now through June 9th. And your board is asking each of us to consider how we can support our spiritual community between now and the end of the fiscal year, March 31st, 2025. Everybody here was so generous in exceeding our fundraiser goal recently, which allowed us to finish the year in a really great place and to build a beautiful cafe with all the beautiful artwork. So thank you so much for all of that. And now we're just asking you to set the intention to help us meet our new goal for the year. We have very, very exciting plans to serve, engage newcomers, congregants, members, and online attendees, and all of the public in brand new, amazing ways. And we're counting on each and every one of you to help us fulfill that. On average, if 90 people gave $50 a week, we would meet our goal. And we know that that's not capable for everybody, and some may be able to do more than that. So would you just please pick up an intentional giving brochure in the front room, which is here somewhere, here, and in the front room, and just read about it. Just pray what the Spirit is directing you to give. If you're watching online, you can go to unityinnaperville.org for details. Please take time to pray about your participation and let Spirit be your guide. You can find the form and complete it by Sunday, June 9th. And thank you again for so much for all of your support. Well, since I love public speaking so much, I'll stand up here and give you your announcements for the week. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. We are so glad you're here, and we would love to get to know you. Please complete the orange registration card at the welcome table and leave at the info table, and we'll keep you posted on upcoming events. Virtual newcomers can sign up for the weekly e-news at unityinnaperville.org. Let's go to lunch today after service at Zion? Something Cuisine at 376 Illinois Route 59 in Naperville. Monday morning Metaphysics is canceled tomorrow due to holiday weekend, which means work is canceled too. Grief support meets Monday, June 3rd at 7 p.m. Join Reverend Kitty and your Unity friends for Pictionary game night Friday, June 7th at 7 p.m. If you can't draw, cool, neither can I. But we can guarantee lots of fun and laughs. So please bring a snack to share and $2 cash fund to fund the prize pot. You can sign up in the front room or email admin@unityinnaperville.org. If you were born in June, let us help you celebrate your birthday. Forward a photo along with your name and birthday to admin@unityinnaperville.org by Thursday, and we will sing to you next Sunday. If you can provide refreshments after service next Sunday, please sign up in the front room. Our prayer chaplain today is Steve, yes, and he can pray with you in the prayer room after the service, or email your name and phone number to prayer@unityinnaperville.org, and prayer chaplain will call you today by 1 p.m. For details on all our events, see the event calendar in unityinnaperville.org.
Well, I invite you to stand as you're able for our closing song. We're going to do it a little different. We're going to sing, "We Let the Love Wash Over Us, we let it be." Then we'll go on to the next word. Sorry about it. So just going through it once.
Over us, we let it be.
Let the life,
We let the light wash over us. We let it be.
we let the peace,
We let the peace wash over us. We let it be.
Thank you so much for bringing your beauty and your life into this room, and for bringing it to us through online, because we can feel you here today. And I'm going to invite you to speak this closing affirmation with me today, remembering that love is probably the highest frequency that's in alignment with God that we can experience. That's where healing begins. Let's say this together. I raise my thoughts to love, and love raises my body to health. In order to not freak out the board members, I'm actually going to have someone, or have a box set out for the offering out front. We don't want to deny you the opportunity to give, because that's just as important as receiving. And so there will be a place for you to leave your offering if you'd like to do that today, and we're grateful for that. Before you walk out of this room, though, just connect to someone else's light, introduce yourself, and share your thoughts about today, and I'll be out front. Love you guys. Thank you.
To our online friends, thank you for being here with us. Joy fills every cell in my body. Every cell is alive with love. I relax into the healing process. I allow Spirit to do what it does. Peace fills every cell in my body. Every cell is alive with love. I relax into the healing process. I allow Spirit to do what it does. Life fills every cell in my body. Every cell is alive with love. I relax into the healing process. I allow Spirit to do what it does. Oh, God fills every cell in my body. Every cell is alive with love. I relax into the healing process. I allow Spirit to do what it does. All right. Thank you, Ben, and thank you, everyone. Blessings.